Hey guys, welcome to Confusing Bits. I'm Corey, and today we're going to do a book review about Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, PhD. It says Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. A little blurb on here says a neuroscientist has found a revolutionary way of being cleverer, more attractive, slimmer, happier, healthier, and warding off cancer. A good night's shut-eye by The Guardian. Let's see here. Does have anybody interesting say anything on the back? Let's do the first blurb. So most of us have no idea what we do with a third of our lives. In this lucid and engaging book, Matt Walker explains the new science that is rapidly solving this age-old mystery, why we sleep. Why we sleep is a uncanny pleasure that will have you turning pages well past your bedtime. The too long didn't read. It's an interesting book. Obviously, it's about sleep. It's a science book. There's going to be they're going to be talking about research of since it's dealing with humans, it's obviously of questionable quality, so it's a popular science book. That's what you're in for. If you don't know a whole lot about sleep or like sleep hygiene or things, if you haven't spent really pretty much any amount of time thinking about sleep or sleep optimization, sleep hygiene, and all of that stuff, if you've spent almost no time talking about, this is the book for you. If you already know or have read several things about sleep, as far as getting up in the morning, consistent sleep schedules, avoiding caffeine, a lot of that, the blue light blockers, if you know of it, you obviously know most of what's in this book. So that's maybe if you know a lot about sleep, you're not going to, if you've read a lot about sleep or just from like productivity books, a lot of these productivity books talk about sleep and things like that and helping yourself sleep. So if you have already read a bunch of productivity books, chances are you already know everything that's in this book. There's going to be citations and stuff in here to an extent that kind of backs up the claims or whatever, but there's nothing new or revolutionary going to be in this book if you know a fair bit about the book. Anyway, that's the too long didn't read. It is a good book though. Anyway, so let's do the blurb stuff. Let's do the inside cover. The first sleep book by a leading scientific expert, the director of UC Berkeley's Sleep and Neuroimaging Lab, Why We Sleep, is a groundbreaking exploration of sleep, explaining how we can harness its transformative power to change our lives for the better. Sleep is one of the most important but least understood aspects of our lives, wellness, and longevity. Until very recently, science had no answer to the questions of why we sleep and how it aids our bodies and brains, or why we suffer such devastating health consequences when we don't, especially as compared with our other basic drives, eating, drinking, and reproducing. The purpose of sleep remained elusive for many years. It goes on. I don't even agree with that statement. Like most of the things that are in this book, we've known about for a very long time, at least several decades. So it's not new or revolutionary. It's not a bad book. I don't want to give that impression, but it's a neuroscientist. He wrote a book that he thought would sell well, and apparently it did, because I bought it, right? But there's nothing really new in this book from the science standpoint. A lot of it is, as usual with popular science book, a lot of it is, especially dealing with humans, we'll do the spiel. Pretty much any science dealing with humans in any way, shape, or form, the quality of the science is, no matter how big the population sample size is, no matter how statistically significant the findings are, generally speaking, are of questionable quality, because you can't do the you can't morally or practically or economically do the experiment that would actually prove the thing that you're wanting to test, and because it relates to human behavior, and humans are conscious of their behavior, so it's very it's hard to do a blind trials and stuff like that. It's the problem with science. It's the problem with medicine. It's the problem with psychology. It's the problem with economics. It's the problem with medicine. It's anything dealing with humans is very difficult to do an ethically designed and statistically robust study for a variety, many varieties of just logistical reasons and also ethical reasons. So there is a lot of research that's presented in this book. They talk about how they go into deep. You'll see this. This is a popular science book that's going to explain to you how sleep works. And what that explains, what they say is they'll say, okay, well, there's when you go to sleep, there's two different types of sleep. There's the rapid eye movement sleep, and then there's the it's just blowing my mind right now. This is the other non-rapid eye movement sleep thing, where you get the sleep spindles that go through your brain, and they go through all the details about what happens in rapid eye movement. Well, in REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly, and that's about the extent of our knowledge of what goes on there. Like the non-REM sleep, what happens there? Well, they have these things, these electrical discharges that go across the brain. We call them sleep spindles. They gave it a name, but what are sleep spindles? We don't know. They talk about it in depth. They present all this evidence like we know what sleep is. The fact that we have a name that's called for a phenomenon called sleep spindles doesn't actually tell us anything else about what actually is going on when you sleep. But that's the nature of the science, right? We're dealing with the nature of the mind. You know, you're not going to get much more detail than that, right? We do know that certain things about sleep spindles, the way they behave, like if you're sleep deprived, the sleep spindles they work differently, and you'll get a different distribution of REM sleep to sleep spindle sleep. And just because they're going into these details about how things behave whenever you get sleep deprived doesn't actually tell us anything about what is actually going on when you sleep, because we can't observe the mind directly. We're just looking at metrics, right? So that's my problem with the book. That's the first third or fourth of the book, which is fine. I want to be clear. This is perfectly fine. This is the standard of practice for most research of this type. Is the only problem I have with these types of books is they present this science. I mean, it's science, but they present it as we know more about this than if you actually really think about what you're being told in this stuff. You're going to say, actually, we don't. I've just read half a book here, and we've said nothing. You know, we haven't really said anything. Yeah. See, it even uses little graphs here that talks about the brain waves of awake and sleep, and I bet you there's a graph about sleep spindles in here. Whatever. It's not in here. I don't see it. Anyway, they have fancy graphs and stuff, but it still doesn't. We still don't know, like, definitively, like, or you're going to cut somebody out without, they're not going to get any REM sleep. What happens? What happens if we block the sleep spindles in non-REM sleep? Well, we don't actually know that kind of stuff, right? Because we're just looking at symptoms. Anyway, it talks about the adenosine, so it goes into some of the neurochemical science or whatever into it. So we're getting some mechanisms in here. Talk sleep stages in here. So it's doing the sciencey thing, the popular science thing. The sciencey thing is that we're going to put a bunch of graphs and we're going to wow you with a bunch of data, but maybe don't look too deeply into it. So let's look at the chapters just so we know what we're talking about. It talks about so there's four main parts in here. There's a part that's called The Thing Called Sleep. Part 2 is called Why Should You Sleep? Part 3 is How and Why We Dream. And part 4 is The Sleeping Pills to Society's Transform. So the first part, or the part 1, is really it's about sleep. It's about caffeine. The time dilation effect that happens whenever you sleep. It talks about napping. It talks about different animals like sleeping with half their brain and stuff, like mammals, particularly that need to stay above, so they could still breathe, like dolphins or whatever, or whales or whatever. They sleep with half their brain or something like that. It talks about different behaviors in that. It talks about sleep across your lifespan. That's part 1. It's all about the sleep. And that's where you get all of the explanation about sleep spindles and REM sleep and adenosine, and that's where it's talking about the jet lag effect, and you're talking a lot about mechanisms and the real kind of science of the sleep. As much science as it needs to be. And then it talks about the part 2 is the benefits of sleep for the brain, and it talks about sleep deprivation, and it talks about cancer, heart attacks, and shorter life, sleep deprivation on the body. So this is making the case that you should be getting a full 8-hour sleep opportunity. That's a big point of the book, is make sure you give yourself at least 8 hours of sleep. You may not give yourself a full 8 hours of sleep opportunity. Even if you're not asleep that full time, make sure you have enough opportunity to get at least 8 hours or something like that. And then different people have needs for, some people need a little bit more, especially like teenagers. They need a couple more hours than a regular adult, and then some people need as little as 6 hours of sleep, but almost no one needs less than 6 hours. Needs less than 6 hours of sleep. Almost everybody needs 6 hours of sleep, is what I'm saying. Is a statistical average. So like Trump saying that he only needs like 4 hours of sleep or something like that, and people who say that they only sleep 4 hours, no, you're dozing off during the day. You're getting some sleep that you maybe don't even know that you have, and it might actually explain some of Trump's behavior if he really did get 4 hours of sleep. But anyway, the next part talks about how and why we dream. So that's talk about REM sleep, what's actually kind of what we think is going on in there. I don't remember what dreaming is. Oh, no, therapy, dream creativity and dream control. It talks about I don't know if you've ever heard of lucid dreaming or anything. Apparently it has been studied, and there are certain individuals who can dream lucidly, and they're able to actually prove it in an MRI. So they'll have a person think about doing, whenever they're lucid during a dream, they could think about a specific thing in response to a cue, and they could see in the MRI that brain is in the sleep state, but they can see that person can still generate the pattern that would be clenching their fists or something like that in response to a question or some other stimuli or something. Apparently, I don't know how they did it or whatever, but apparently some people can lucidly dream. So that's that was something I knew I did learn. I thought it was mostly I did a little bit of lucid dreaming practice in my younger years. I can't say I was ever particularly successful, but it's nice to know that wasn't a completely wasted effort, but it was a fun thing to do at the time, right? I got a lot of sleep. But anyway, that was the college years, right? Give everything the good old college try. That was my lucid dreaming phase. But apparently I wasn't wasting my time. Apparently some people can actually lucidly dream fairly routinely. The last part, the part 4, Sleeping Pills of Society Transform. This talks about, this is the practical session. This is where it explicitly outlines, hey, you need to make sure you're getting sufficient sleep. You need to make sure that you're getting a full, uninterrupted 8 hour sleep opportunity every night, you need to try to make sure that it's on a regular schedule. You need to go to bed at the same time of day. You need to wake up at the same time of day. If you wake up in the morning, make sure you get sunlight on your skin. If you're particularly sensitive, I tried at night, you need to like turn off your blue screens and stuff. This one, I was kind of like skeptical. I've been back and forth on this. I've done the screen, turn all the screens off the light. I have all of my lights are all automated, so all of my overhead lights go off in the house, and it's just the desk lamps, and they all turn the orange reddish color in the evening. And also like my television, all the screens, they block all the blue and they'll turn orange and everything. I have all that set, but I can't really say that I've noticed a difference on the nights because sometimes I'll be up late watching something and that I want to have like proper colors for, like I'm watching a movie or something, and I don't want to have the orange colors for this movie that I'm watching, so I'll turn off the blue light blocker. I don't notice the difference. If it is, it's a subtle effect, and I haven't noticed it. I tell you what, waking up every morning and getting outside and get sunlight on my skin, doing the morning walk and everything, that has done tremendous good. Like it keeps me like on, like it gets around 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm ready to go to sleep, and I just wake up naturally in the morning just because I'm getting that clock reset from all of that light. Apparently they say that all that light that you get in the morning hours really helps. And I think I think for me at least, it has been proven to be very effective getting that morning walk in for resetting my clock. I'm never really groggy in the morning. I wake up without an alarm clock and I'm ready to go. So it seems to be working for me. Let me see what else it talks about. It talks about the the light blocking thing. It talks about factory whistles. So that's people who work shifts works and how bad that is. So it warns against that. So that's not new information. It talks about, at some point in there, I knew it talked about teenagers and children, especially teenagers, need a later start in the day. Their cycle is like cocked, it's shifted a little bit later in the day, and that as you get older, generally it shifts back earlier. So you all know that your old folks, they get up at like 4 a.m. or something or other, right? Just naturally they're ready to go, and they go to sleep at like 7. Well, that's just a natural part of aging. Is part of that is your sleep schedule, your natural biological rhythm kind of resets naturally like that way. Anyway, I think it talked about NASA making sure that the astronauts get enough sleep and stuff like that, so it's even important there. So that's the book. I think Too Long Didn't Read did really sum it up, is that it sounded like I'm really shitting on the book or whatever, but I'm not. It's a good book for someone who doesn't know anything about. It's a decent book for anybody who hasn't read anything about sleep, or you don't know most of the things. And if you want to hear some explanation of whatever accuracy, you can believe it or not. The argument makes the case, so you can believe it or not. For the science that, as he understands it, he outlines it well, and there are citations in here, I believe. Where's that? He spoke like there was citations. I don't see an appendix. Oh, yeah. Okay, well. Okay, apparently he didn't cite as much as, maybe he did on, there's citations at the bottom of the page. Okay. Like I said, I read most of my books through audiobooks, so he was saying things that I assumed were being cited, so, anyway. It's nobody reads the citations. I go fully off the strength of your argument and your logic. So anyway, it's a good book if you want to know more about sleep and you don't know a lot about the topic. If you do most of the, if you have spent pretty much any amount of time trying to be more productive or improve your sleep, you probably know everything of relevance from this book. So I'll leave it at that. I do think it's a good book, but it's a good book only for the I guess the most uninformed reader on this particular topic. Not generally uninformed, but if you don't know a whole lot about sleep, maybe this book is a good primer for you. But good thing is I think if you do read this book, I think you will know pretty much everything there is that I have ever read about sleep is in this book. So, and a couple of things like I didn't know about the lucid dreaming thing, so that was new. But it was it's kind of like productivity books, right? If you go start reading after you've read like 2 or 3 of the main productivity books, like I don't know, they start repeating themselves, right? You start seeing the same advice being repeated over and over ad nauseum. So same thing here. If you know a lot about sleep, I keep saying this, if you know a lot about sleep, maybe not this book, but if you don't, or if you just want an easy read, it's an easy read, then pick up Lyrics. But anyway, this is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And what am I put that there. What's coming up next? Yeah. Next month, next week, is a really short book. It's Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I am trying to weave in some classics here and there. So this one's coming up next. It's going to be a short one, but it's a good one. Anyway, I will see you guys then.